Hello, this is Lynn Matajan from Matajan's Herbals, and I know that I said this was going to be about Thanksgiving stories, but I decided to take a little bit of a detour and make it more like family traditions. I originally wasn't going to do a live tonight because I did one on Friday with the turkey grinding. Speaking of which, that's going to be dinner tonight as soon as I'm over. It's the chicken is in the oven roasting. And I've been a little bit sad this last couple of weeks, actually since October and Halloween, because somehow when we're not having holidays, the shutdown hasn't been as hard on me as it could have been. I miss all you folks. I miss the socializing at the store, and I miss having good times with you in the store. But when I come home from the store, I always come home to my house alone, and I have and I generally don't go out after I get here. So once I leave the store, then it's kind of like life is back to normal. I am, but when we started in the holiday season, which would have been the beginning of October for me because of the witch's ball, when I should have been hip deep in planning for the ball, it wasn't happening. And then they took away the trick-or-treating, and now we're not supposed to gather with our extended family for Thanksgiving. And to be totally honest with you, I think they're going to actually continue this shutdown until after the first of the year, because what do people do during Christmas and New Year's is they get together and celebrate. And I think that they're going to have us not do that so that we can stop the spread of the virus. So what's making me a little sad is all the traditions that are going to be not done this year. And I thought, well, we might not be able to do the traditions, but we certainly can talk about them. And so that's what I'm going to do tonight, is talk about some of the things throughout the year that I do with my family. When I was a little girl, my mom told me that it's the traditions that bring children back home again. And so I thought about that growing up, and got married and moved away. I moved from Southern California up to the Bay Area, and then ultimately up here. So my family was always in Southern California, and we weren't rich. We didn't make a whole lot of money, and so scooting down for the holidays and celebrating the holidays really wasn't feasible. So I decided then what I need to do is to look at what kind of traditions that I could do with my family. So I actually wrote down a bunch of them. So that's what this is. These are just little notes so that I remember what they are as we're talking. So Easter is not the first one. I put them out of order. So the first of the year, what we would do, not the first of the year, but the first part of the year, we started a Super Bowl Sunday party. And we would have people come and bring with them a cold cut for sandwiches and cheese for sandwiches. And Carl's Bakery, which is in downtown Everett, and actually QFC at that time would make for me a 6-foot loaf of bread. Now, sometimes we would have the 6-foot loaf of bread, and sometimes we would have 2 6-foot loaves of bread, depending upon how many people were coming. And we would make, at halftime, we would make a conga line and alternate meat, cheese, and go around, and we would all put the sandwich together. There would be side dishes, of course, but it became not only Super Bowl Sunday, but Super Sandwich Sunday. And I loved doing that. That was always so much fun. And everybody was always really excited. Are you going to do the sandwich today? And so that was pretty cool. At Easter, we would do an egg hunt here at our house. Now, because I didn't have extended family up here, I just had my children and my husband. We gathered a lot of people, and they would come and they would um, have all of the holidays with us. We would have a big egg hunt in our yard. Each child, a parent would bring for each child a dozen eggs. I have to say, of all of the holidays and all of the jobs around the holidays, dyeing Easter eggs is not is my least favorite. But we would, in my yard here, which is just a regular city lot, is we would sometimes hide as many as 14 or 15 dozen eggs for the kids to find. Now, as my kids have gotten older and they're grown up, and now it's even some of my grandchildren are grown up. Another tradition that was brought in from one of our in-law families was a plastic gold and silver egg with $1 and $5 in it, and so the kids get real excited about finding that. So what I our traditions are dynamic. They ebb and flow with changes as we add people to the family and as we end up with people not people leaving the family as well. It is for the 4th of July, when I was a little girl, what we did um, down in Southern California was we would have a cap gun fight, the shootout at OK Corral. And it was the four of my siblings and myself against my dad. And my mom was the referee. And we would bang in and out of the house. You couldn't shoot in the house, but you could run through the house to get to the backyard or the front yard. My dad would get on the roof and he would shoot at us from the roof. And I have to tell you that is just one of my favorite childhood memories, because what a cool thing that was. I did it a couple of years with my kids, but somehow they didn't enjoy it as much as I did as a kid, and so that was one of the ones that kind of went away, and we didn't do that. But we always had fireworks here at the house, and then we would always go to a big fireworks show. Generally, it would be when we lived here in Everett, we would go to the waterfront, and when we lived up in Arlington, we'd go to Post Middle School and watch, bring our cocoa and stuff and blankets and sit on the ground and watch all of the fireworks. I think that's pretty cool. Some things that we did some that were non-traditional kinds of holidays. We would always have a big barbecue at the end of the summer. So in the last week of August, we would have a big barbecue. When we generally would serve, instead of hot dogs and hamburgers, we would serve salmon and we would serve chicken. And people thought, wow, that's expensive stuff. And what they never understood was that it was cheaper to do the salmon and the chicken than it was to do the hot dogs and the hamburgers. Because up in Bow, years ago, where the casino is now, they had a fishery that it was a tribal fishery, and they would go down and do all the fishing, and then they would flash freeze the fish, and then there was a shop that anybody could go shopping in, and they would sell salmon, big pieces of salmon, like yay big, that was $1 a pound. I mean, you couldn't buy hot dogs and hot dog buns and condiments for that. And to this day, you can go to Winco and get frozen hindquarters of a chicken for 59 cents a pound. It comes in a 10-pound bag, so it's $5.90. And you let it defrost, and you cut it, and then you've got legs and thighs, and again, 59 cents a pound. You can't beat that. It is when we lived up in Arlington, we had horses, and so any of the young kids that came, we would bring the horses out, and we would walk the kids around so they could do the horses, and they used to love that too. That was a lot of fun. And I guess food is important to me, because all of these things have to do with food on top of all of the other things. So Thanksgiving is the next one coming up. And there are several things that we do for Thanksgiving that are a little bit different. I'm going to lift up my tablecloth so that you can see it. and I hope you can see it well, but those are all hands. Now this is a bed sheet, and I've got 3 of them now. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to make them into quilts and have one for each one of my kids. And these are the hands of everybody who has sat at our Thanksgiving table since 2001. So we see the growth of the grandchildren and in the growth of their hands. We see the friends that have been here. I was looking at, there's a name here that says Mike Duval. And I was sitting there looking at that thinking, I don't even know who Mike Duval is. But then I remembered, that was in 2006. And that particular Thanksgiving, I had a friend that was going through a divorce. Her ex-husband got the kids for Thanksgiving, and her mom and dad were here from Utah. So there was just the 3 of them, and I said, why don't you come join us for Thanksgiving? And so they did. We ended up with like 30 people at our Thanksgiving table. Now, I am one that does not believe in a children's table. I want everybody around the same table. And it is, so what we did that year, you can't really see. I'm sitting in my dining area right now, and then on the other side, it's one giant room. The other side is the living room. And we had tables lined up all the way from this side of the wall to the far side of the wall. It was all table. If you wanted to get to the other side of the table, you had to, if you were a kid, you could climb under the table, or you had to go out the front door, come around into the back door and come through the kitchen, or the other way around. And that was so much fun. Again, we talk about that Thanksgiving, that's the biggest Thanksgiving we've ever had. And it was a lot of fun. We make our own butter. So, kind of reminding us of the olden days. And it was, and so we get I don't do it like I did in the video. Generally what we'll do is we'll put the cream, and we'll put a clothes peg inside the a quart-sized jar, and put a little bit of salt in it, and then we shake it. And everybody that eats dinner with us takes a turn shaking to make the butter. And then that butter we put on our fry bread, which is another, because we have native blood, we generally make fry bread instead of rolls. We do, I cook sweet potatoes in the fireplace. And this is the time that I give all of my grandchildren their Advent calendar. Now, since we've gotten a little bit older, and I have a lot more in-laws in the family, and they don't necessarily live close by, we have taken to alternating holidays. And so on even years like this year, I have an orphan Thanksgiving. Now, I think that when I call it the orphan Thanksgiving, people think that I'm referring to the people that come to that dinner as an orphan, because my kids are going to their in-laws. I'm the orphan. So that's my orphan Thanksgiving, and I'm the orphan. This year we don't have anybody coming because of, obviously, COVID, and so it's a little bit sad. It's going to be much smaller, and so a lot of these things I'm not going to do this Thanksgiving, because it makes no sense for just a couple of people to try to, make the butter and have such a big dinner. We are on even years, my family comes to my house for Christmas, and it is, and what we do is, it's if it's the odd year, and I have Thanksgiving here, we still celebrate Christmas, but we'll do it like a week later. On Thanksgiving, when I don't celebrate with my children on Thanksgiving, they don't come to my house at all for that dinner. We'll have another dinner. We'll have a macaroni and cheese cook-off, or we'll have, just a regular family dinner that isn't set up around turkey. It is, so this one is going to be a much more quiet. Now, the weekend after Thanksgiving, because I knew that we would come to a time when I wouldn't have Thanksgiving with all my children, the weekend after Thanksgiving, we plan a trip to the mountains. Now, it used to be a big party. We used to have, as many as 7 or 8 cars caravanning up to the mountains. And we would go up, we'd look for snow. We would try to get the snow every year. It didn't happen all of the time. But we would also uh, cut down our Christmas trees. So you can go to the ranger station or you can go to REI and you can buy a permit to cut down a Christmas tree. And so we would go up there, we'd play in the snow, we'd cut down our trees, and then we'd come back home. And when it was a party and not just family, because right now it's just family, we would come back home to chili dinner. I would have crock pots of chili cooking all day long, and so cold from the snow and wet from the snow, and we'd come here and the chili would be ready and waiting for us. And we would also have Tom and Jerry, which is an ice cream based drink. Now you can make it with rum or without rum. So obviously the kids all drank it without the rum, and a lot of the adults drank it with the rum. It's a really good ice cream drink. If you want the recipe for it, let me know and I'll make sure that I get it to you. It is, for Christmas, what we used to do is, I had a felt, when my kids were little, I had a felt Christmas tree that was about 6 feet tall, and I sewed pockets on it that looked like ornaments, and in that, it was an advent calendar, and in those ornaments was a little piece of paper that had a Christmas-related activity. Now, I gave that tree years ago now to my youngest daughter, and I was talking to her about it just the other day, and she said that, and I knew she had it, and she says, oh, I still got it, Mom, and she says, you know what? She says, the papers are still in there. She says, now the ink on some of them has faded to the point that I can't tell you what that particular day's activity was. But we would go walking around the neighborhood sometimes and look at the Christmas lights, and we would bake cookies, and we would deliver cookies to our neighbors, and we would read The Night Before Christmas, and we would have a Yule celebration. It's all kinds of different things that we would do that just kind of kept the anticipation growing for Christmas. Once I had my grandchildren, I started having a Yule celebration. Now, the last couple of years we haven't had it. But they would come and spend the night, all my grandkids, and we would have a fire in the fireplace, and we'd pop corn in the fireplace, and we'd have apples and cheese and popcorn, and we'd read stories. And as they got older, they would take turns reading stories, and so everybody would get a chance to read. And then they would write a letter to somebody that was no longer here, that had crossed the veil, and then they would put their letter in the fireplace so that the smoke could take the letter up to the loved ones. I've got a younger set of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. The greats aren't quite there yet into doing it, but the younger grandchildren are, and I think we're going to look at next year, because again, this year I don't think they will be allowed. I think we're going to go ahead and start that up again. It is, when my kids were little, we would go to the movies for Christmas afternoon. When I was little, we would go to, we would have Christmas morning at my house, and then we would go to my mom's house, and we would have Christmas lunch at her house, and then we would go to my dad's mom's house, and we would have Christmas dinner there. And I thought that my children really got rooked when we moved away, and there was no place to go but Christmas morning. So we used to go to the movies, and we would choose a children's movie, so that was age appropriate. And I think one of the funniest things is typically we would go to the movies. I'd been up till about 3 o'clock in the morning finishing wrapping presents, so the kids all watched the movies, and I took a nap in the theater while the movie was going on. And then the kids would tell me, oh, this was the best part of the movie. And I would agree with them because I had no idea what it was, and they had no idea I was asleep. So it was, that was kind of funny. When the grandchildren started coming, some of the moms weren't as excited to take babies to the movies because the babies, like babies do, would cry and have some hard times. So we started having the great annual Hot Wheel race. And we have I went out and bought a racetrack, and it is for Hot Wheels, and we race our cars in heats until we've got the winner. And it is the story that started that was that we had my kids used to love playing with Hot Wheels when they were little kids, and finally when they were ranging about 13 to 17, I quit buying them Hot Wheels because they always got a Hot Wheel in their stocking. And that year I quit. I didn't buy it because I was sitting there thinking, they're 13, 15, 17, and 18. I'm not going to buy them a Hot Wheel because that's just a waste of money. Well, I ruined Christmas that year. It was pretty funny on how upset they were that there was no Hot Wheel. So that's when we went and got the Hot Wheels, and the next year, and I got the track so we could race with the track. And now, whether it doesn't matter what year it is, whether we're doing it on Christmas Day or whether we're doing it a week after, we always have the Hot Wheel races, which is a whole lot of fun. I think that, as the kids have aged, and as I've aged, some of the traditions have changed quite a bit, and yet we still do. We still go camping. It used to be every August, but this year we went in July. And some of you, if you were watching the Knot Magic that we did in July, in July, you went camping with us because each day that I was there, we'd release another knot. And we have such a good time gathering around a fire and doing those kinds of just, family things. I am thankful that you all just sat here and listened to me talk and revisit some of the things that we've done as a family. I hope that you have the same opportunities to do those, whatever your family traditions are. If you want to write what one of your family traditions down here on this so that you can share yours, I would love to read them. I'm always looking for new fun activities. I am thinking the day before Thanksgiving, so Wednesday, I probably won't be doing a video, but I'll be back on the following Monday, and we'll be right back on track making some Christmas gifts. Thank you so very much for your time and your attention and your support, and also have a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Bye-bye.